Hey, everybody, and welcome to Generally Speaking, the podcast that bridges the worlds of pop culture and personal development. I'm your host, Jennifer Snook. I am so happy to be here with you today. I hope everything has been going well in your world. Here is what's been happening in mine. So I thought I would bring you guys out to the kitchen today because clearly we are very festive in the kitchen, way more than we are in the office. So I figured if there's ever a time, this is the time, right? I mean, before we know it, it's going to be Christmas. I mean, it's basically Christmas. So welcome to my kitchen. I'm happy you're here. As soon as we're done here, I need to head over to the Burbank airport to pick up Mike. And then the two of us are driving up to the Bay with Albie, our dog, of course. My brother had a friend pass away recently that was like family to us our entire lives. So he's hosting a little memorial up in the Bay for him. And so anyway, I have to go up there, not the best of circumstances, but it'll be nice to see everyone. It's going to be a couple of heavy days, but also inspiring and uplifting. Speaking of inspiring and uplifting, you guys, did you see Jamie Foxx's new special on Netflix? It's called something like So the Thing That Happened Was, or something like that. Anyway, Jamie goes into everything that happened with that health scare with him a while back. And I have to tell you, you guys, I don't want to give too much away. And I could, if I really get into it, I could give a lot of it away. But I'm just going to tell you, run, don't walk to see that special. I mean, run. You probably won't have to run too far because it is on Netflix. It's probably just in your family room. But anyway, point is, you have to see this. Truthfully, everyone should see it. It is so beautifully done about such a serious topic. And Jamie takes us through it just so beautifully and masterfully and honestly and in such a raw and emotional and beautiful way. Anyway, I said I wasn't going to give too much away, and I already am. But just suffice it to say that like 1 minute you're laughing your ass off. I mean, laughing your ass off. And the next minute you're I was at least just crying from just the most pure, beautiful place. So it was really a lot. It is so good, you guys. You have to see it. It's on Netflix. Watch it this weekend, you guys. Do yourself a solid. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. On a much lighter note, everybody, big news. Melissa Gorga has launched her own line of sprinkle cookies. Sprinkles by MG. And honestly, I think it's a great move. I think it is a great move. I would like to know where I could get some. I would like to order them and take them to my holiday party, which is going to be on Sunday. So after we're in the Bay, we're there Friday and Saturday, and we have to get up and drive back early on Sunday morning because my 901 company Christmas party is on Sunday. And I'm also going to be taking you guys to that with me. So stay tuned for that. In other news, everybody, Jen Shah's assistant, Stuart Smith, do you remember him? He has been sentenced to 9 months in prison. And Jen, for her part, has had a month taken off her sentence. I don't know if it's good behavior or what it was, but she will now be released on December 19th, 2027. Stewart apparently has compared Jen Shah to the devil on record, and he came out and said that he's actually glad that he got arrested and he's grateful for law enforcement because he said that it freed him from her grips, from the grips of the devil. According to former Bravo producer Carlos King, the whole storyline, this is just according to Carlos, you guys, and, take it for what it's worth. But Carlos says that the entire storyline between, sorry, that was my phone. The entire storyline between Dorit and PK this season is fake. He says that the entire thing has been fabricated just to ensure her a spot on the show next year because they're just, according to Carlos, so desperate for money. Apparently, they owe a lot of people a lot of money, and they are desperate to keep at least one of them employed. So they're willing to go to whatever length they need to go to, even if that means faking an entire separation. I mean, seems excessive to me. And honestly, I hope they're not that desperate for their sake, for their kids' sake. And then there's Vicky. On her podcast, the one with the weird name. I mean, who named this show? Has anyone asked that? I want to know where this name came from. This is truthfully the name of her podcast, you guys. My friend, my soulmate, my podcast. That's the name of the podcast. My friend, my soulmate, my podcast. So bizarre. Anyway, on the podcast, Vicky goes on to say that John Jansen really doesn't have a lot of money. She says that his house is so small. She actually called it a piece of shit that is so small that Shannon couldn't even fit a blender on the counter, let alone move all of her stuff in. So it is interesting, right? Like, John can't even fit his kids in his house, but he's so desperate to, sit there and say that he lives on the water. Yeah, but you live in a shack that your kids can't even fit in. So, I mean, you guys know how I feel about John Jansen. I just think he is such a poser. And quite frankly, I've never even been that big of a fan of Shannon. I think Shannon has a lot of really deep issues that she needs to work on. I think Shannon's emotional wounds are what drives everything she does, which is why she's all over the place all the time. And I also think that that's why she was with John Jansen, because they were equally as broken. And I think that that's exactly why he's still with Alexis. I mean, like attracts like, let's be real. And then we have Monica Garcia, who is calling out the hypocrisy and the double standards over in Salt Lake City. Monica said about the double standards, all I'm going to say is this. If that were me and I were screaming the word dick over and over and over and talking about porn hair and slut shaming someone at a freaking religious event, y'all would have my damn head. And miss, I don't like people that are nasty to women just standing there laughing her damn head off. Wild. And honestly, I have to say, I completely agree with Monica on that. I know I've said this before, I would love so much for them to bring Monica back and have Bronwyn and Monica and just watch how that throws off the dynamics, because Heather was the queen bee since that show started. And that's why anyone that comes, that steps onto that show and threatens her position really, she comes for them, and she comes for them hard. We saw what she did to Monica. I mean, she completely got her ousted off the show, and we see the way she's reacting to Bronwyn. So I'd love to see the two of them together. Speaking of Salt Lake City, the reunion has been shot, and Andy promises that if the season was a 10, the reunion is probably a 10 plus. So I am so excited about that. And did you hear Angie Casanevis, however you say her name, say that when she heard that she got the center spot, for the cast photo this season, that she cried. She cried. And here's a laugh for you. Apparently, Tom Sandoval has fired his attorneys, and he is now planning on representing himself in court, you guys. Tom Sandoval will be acting as his own attorney, and I can't wait to see how that works out. Anyway, you guys, it is time for reality check. We are going to start. I got to tell you, I am so pumped about Southern Charm being back. It's my favorite show. It hands down is my favorite show. So first up, titties for breakfast, you guys, but only at Madison's house. Things aren't nearly as hunky-dory everywhere else. The season also opens up to find that the guy's relationship is still incredibly strained. I mean, like very strained. And when I say guys, I'm talking Shep, Craig, and Austin, and not JT in any way. While the show was away, that little leprechaun found himself in Costa Rica on an ATV, and he rolled down a hill, right? He tried to make it out like it was some near-death experience, but in the end, we find out that all he had was a bruise on his leg, everybody. So, but here's the truth. When JT saw that bruise, all he saw was storyline. And not just any storyline, but I'm the victim and you need to feel sorry for me storyline, the worst kind. I know it's hard to imagine that JT this season is any worse than he was last season, because he was that terrible last season. But I'm telling you, somehow this guy pulls it off. This season, he's hobbling around with the cane constantly, and every chance he talks about this near-death experience. I mean, you could be talking about the weather. Oh, this is what it was like in Costa Rica when I fell down the hill. You could be talking about food. Oh, that's what I ate before I crashed and almost lost my life. I mean, he's so desperado. And this season, he is thick as thieves with Charleston's most fashionable Vanita, whom I just love, and whom I'm assuming is no longer with her boyfriend given the amount of time that she's been spending with JT. We see the two of them shopping together to get him something to wear to the Carolina Cup, which is a horse race that Vanita says she's been to many times, but honestly doesn't have any memories of because every time she goes, she gets a little too lit. So sounds like a party. While they're shopping, the two of them discuss what it will be like to see the gang at the Carolina Cup. And JT says, you know, I haven't talked to Austin since last year, and I think I'm just going to take the high road. He says, I'm going to just say, listen, guys, I almost died, and I don't care if you're still toxic. I'm good. Life's too short. Then we see Craig and Austin driving to Shep's farmhouse, number one, because the farmhouse is right near where the Carolina Cup is going to be played. And secondly, because the guys need an opportunity, and when I say guys, once again, I'm not talking about JT, but Craig, Shep, and Austin need an opportunity to get together and talk and hash shit out and hopefully get back on the same page, because right now things are tense. While the boys are on the road driving to Shep's, Austin calls and checks in on Pooks, otherwise known as Audrey. We find out that Austin met her last summer. She lives in Charlotte, and they've been officially dating for 3 months now. And this time he tells Craig he's not doing it the same way that he normally does it, you guys. You know, Austin, normally he won't commit. He's such a commitment phobe. This time Austin says he wants to do it differently. He doesn't want to be casual. He wants to put a label on it. So Audrey is officially his girlfriend, everybody, AKA his Pookie monster, his Pookosaurus, his chick. You get it. Then we see Shep arrive at the family farm, and we get a whole history lesson about the town of Boykin, South Carolina, how it was named after his father's family. It was gifted to the family by King George III. Shep was greeted by Tommy, the farm manager, who takes note of the fact that Shep is looking healthy, and he asks Shep if he's still working on improving his lifestyle. And Shep says, yeah, I went to Costa Rica, I did ayahuasca, I'm really recalibrating. And then to camera, Shep talks about how being blackout drunk at BravoCon really was a wake-up call for him. He says it was what he needed to realize that he needed to focus on getting his life together. And so he embarked on this self-realization journey, and he attended that ayahuasca retreat. Shep says that after BravoCon, he reached out to both of the guys and they both blew him off. He said that it really hurt him and he needs them to understand that. Shep says he felt betrayed. He thinks they've been shitty friends and he really needs to get this off his chest. Meanwhile, while the guys are in the car, they're talking about the same thing and their feelings about Shep and where they stand on the whole matter. Craig says that he really wants to have a relationship with Shep. He says that he misses him and he doesn't want things to be so surface. And then they flash back to a recent scene at the gym where all the guys there, but they're not really doing anything more than just saying what's up to each other. It's a totally different vibe. Then we meet the new girl, Molly, who meets up with Madison at a dress shop because, right, everybody needs to get all gussied up for this Carolina Cup. Molly is a model who once had a sexting relationship with Craig, right? Apparently just sexting only online, like they never met up in person. So, I mean, does it even really count? Apparently not to Paige, who thinks it's hilarious. Molly also tells us that she's recently gained 40 pounds because of her thyroid problem. But honestly, I'm going to tell you, 40 pounds or not, her body is banging exactly how it is. She is gorgeous. Her body is gorgeous. And we find out that she's actually been courting Whitney. She tells Madison that recently she made him lamb shanks, but she still can't get him to commit. Then Craig and Austin show up at the farm. And after an awkward few minutes, Shep says, I want to talk about a lot of stuff. And Craig says, fine, we can talk. Then to camera, Shep says, my relationship with these guys has kept me up many a nights and many a mornings. There's been a lot of anger and a lot of pain. And then the three of them sit down at the table. They express their disappointments, their frustrations. Shep said, you guys weren't there when I needed you. And Craig says, listen, I'm a business owner and I needed boundaries. Shep says, business owner, what in the hell does that have to do with anything? This is about friendship. Do you know how many times I stood by your side when you screwed up over and over and over again? And honestly, he's not wrong about that. Craig says, listen, in the last year, I stopped drinking and I really needed to take a step back. And then they all agree to a reset. And then both of the guys tell Shep that they're really interested in hearing about his ayahuasca trip. So Shep and Austin go in and sit by the fire, and Shep opens up and tells Austin that while he was away in Costa Rica on this ayahuasca trip, he had a vision about Austin and Austin's deceased sister. Shep said that he was crying and filled with empathy for everything that Austin went through. And in that exact moment, he forgave him for everything that happened with Taylor. Shep said that he also had a visual of Taylor as a bird, and he was trying to bring her into his nest so that he could feed her and nourish her and turn her into this big, beautiful bird that she is meant to be. But apparently, according to Shep, she just kept like flying into a wall or something and hitting her head, flying back and hitting her head, which honestly doesn't really surprise me. Then it's time for the Carolina Cup. JT has rented a party bus. So half the gang meet up over at his event space. They all hop in the bus and head down the highway en route to the Carolina Cup. They're not on the road long before bottles start popping, drinks start flowing, and JT's bladder starts screaming. So they need to find a bathroom. They find a truck stop that also has a mini mart attached to it, you guys. JT comes back from the bathroom with an armful of canes. Canes, the kind you walk with, numerous canes. Everyone is wondering what in God's name he's doing with these canes. And JT goes on to explain that he's going to pass them out to the other guys and say, here you go, we're all okay. Like as if it's funny. But it's not even funny. It's not even like a little funny. We're all okay. Rodrigo was perfect. He goes, I really love watching you make a fool of yourself. And I just thought, so do I. Then Madison and Brett arrive to the Carolina Cup, followed by Shep, Craig, and Austin. Madison gives all the guys a hug, even Shep. And then Austin asks her how things are going with Shep, given their contentious history. Madison says, fine. Wouldn't it be ironic if the two of him, if him and I ended up being best friends? And Austin says, that'll never happen. That's like saying that me and JT will be best friends. And Madison says, be nice, Austin, and just don't make fun of his cane. Then JT and the crew and the canes all show up. And as JT is walking over to meet the other guys, I am just screaming. I mean, what is that dork doing, you guys? JT walks up to the guys and says, let's not mess around. Let's get this over with. Craig says, dude, are you okay? And JT says, I got something for you. And he's staring right at Austin. Austin goes, really? And JT says, after my near-death experience, I was thinking about you. I think I was a little hard on you during that exorcism, but I'm happy as hell for you that you have a girlfriend. So I got something for you. And as he's pulling out this long, huge cane, Austin goes, you're not going to beat me with that, are you? JT says, I'm not fighting with you. This is your cane because you turned over a new leaf. Austin says, wow. And JT goes, water under a Puerto Rican bridge. Have a great day, guys, and make some money at the stables. Craig is cracking up, and Austin looks right into the camera and goes, the guy's a fucking weirdo. The guy, he's just a fucking weirdo. And honestly, I do not agree with Austin very often, but I gotta say, he is a weirdo. He is such poor little guy. You gotta feel sorry for him. Then Miss Pat, Whitney, and Whitney's date arrive, and Molly does not love it. She said that she had no idea that he was bringing someone, and that half the time he's telling her that he wants her to have his babies, and the other half of the time he's showing up with 22-year-olds. So then Shep moseys over to say hi to Taylor. He says, like, I tried to text you, but I think you blocked me. And she's like, yeah, I think maybe I did. And then to camera, she basically tries to make it out like Shep is chasing her and she's in a new relationship and she needs him to respect her boundaries. Taylor says, I'm in a new relationship and I need him to leave us alone. After Madison finds another cane lying around, she asks JT how much longer he's going to be milking this whole cane situation. And then he asks her another weird question because this guy, all that comes out of his mouth, you guys, is weird shit. That's the bottom line. He asks her, are you glad I didn't die? Because of course we're bringing it back to that near-death experience again, but now he's looking for that validation. He needs Madison to say, yeah, I'm really glad that you came out. I mean, he's just so freaking desperate. Then Miss Pat joins Madison over on a daybed and soon they're attracting a crowd. From across the room, JT says, hey, is that Miss Pat? Oh, damn. And then he gets up and hobbles over, you guys, and says, hello, Miss Pat. I brought this for you. And she goes, I don't need a cane. And he says, I know, it's just for looks. She says, thank you. And then she turns to camera and says, I am genuinely offended. I don't know what he was thinking. It was a stupid gift in my estimation. And I mean, ooh, and God, I mean, are you, again, the desperate. He doesn't even like, he's so desperate for someone to say thank you or give him kudos or pat him on the back that he doesn't even take a second to stop and think about the fact that maybe giving an 80-something-year-old woman a cane isn't the right move. I mean, poor little fella. And we know that he did not make it. He left the season early. And I mean, it is so clear why. Over in New York City, you guys, this is a mixed bag. New York City, people are really feeling one way or another about it. I know Andy Cohen is standing by this recast of New York. He really says that he loves them. I know Jeff Lewis says that he likes everybody but Brynn. And I don't even know if it's so much about liking everyone, but I just feel like everyone on that show, to me personally, feels like they all feel self-produced. It all feels like they all have this angle. It just doesn't have the authenticity that some of the other ones have. Anyway, the show opens at the airport. Everyone is arriving to board a flight to Puerto Rico, which should be fun, except for Aaron and Uba, who are, they've still got beef. And then there's Raquel, who is seeing her not so supportive mother for the first time in 6 years. I mean, wild, right? The ladies hop on their flight and then they land in sunny, very sunny Puerto Rico. En route to the house, the subject of who is going to get what room comes up, of course, because it always does, right? It wouldn't be a Housewives trip if there wasn't a fight about the fucking rooms. They need 2 more people to double up, but no one seems to be willing. The minute that they get to the house, the ladies all scramble to find a place to sleep. Uba tries to play it cool, like she's already, I've made it clear that I am not sharing a room and I'm not having a small room. Like she just thinks that because she said it out loud, everyone is just going to adhere to her expectations, which, I mean, come on. So she just sits there, you guys. Everyone is swarming like bees throughout the house, trying to stake their territory on a room. Meanwhile, Uba's just lounging, eating fruit, doing her own thing because she expects that when she does get up and retire to her room, that everyone will have just made sure that she got the exact room that she was hoping for. Uba goes, I don't really care about my room. I'm just here to have fun with my friends. But then when it's time for her to go to the room that she was left with, it is the smallest room in the house, and Uba loses her shit. I mean, loses her shit. And then she makes plans to go and stay at a 5-star hotel. She just like walks off and how do I get to the hotel? I mean, just so demanding. I mean, talk about diva behavior. This is more of what I mean. Like, this to me, for her, it just felt like an opportunity for her to just make a bigger scene about herself. Like, is that really authentic? I mean, she says she has all this money. Where is all of her money coming from? I mean, I know she was a model, but it's not like she is a name that is known. She's not Christy Turlington. She's not Cindy Crawford. She's not Gigi Hadid. Before New York, I didn't know who she was. But in the end, Sai saves the day and gives Uba her room, because Sai is small, and so she can fit into a small room. As the girls are unpacking, Brynn makes her way to Jenna and Raquel's room to suckle on Jenna's chest. Then Rebecca comes in and they ask her if she's disappointed that she has to share a room. And she says, yes, because I have 4 kids and, I just kind of want some alone time. Which Jenna fully understood, but Brynn says, you don't need to have kids to want alone time. And Rebecca says, it's a little different when you do. You'll know when you have them. And then Brynn decides that she's going to stand on this soapbox and make a mountain out of a molehill and says, I can't believe what she just said. She says that I can't understand unless I have kids. Brynn is suddenly off the Richter offended, and she has decided to run with this. Meanwhile, Jessel at the same time has realized that she's missing a suitcase, and suddenly the world comes to a screeching halt because like New York is like prank city now, I guess. And I think so much of it is Brynn like wanting to prove that she's a fun girl. We're going to do a prank. I'm funny. I'm the funny girl. We're going to liven things up. So meanwhile, Jessel has realized that she's missing a suitcase, and suddenly her world comes to a screeching halt because her passport is in the lost bag. She's panicking, and then she even turns to the cameras and tells them to put the cameras down. And I really think that she was just frustrated because there were people there with cameras on their shoulders filming her when she wanted their help. She's like, put those cameras down and help me. It's not time to be filming me. It's time to be finding my bag. And then they flash back to a scene where we see Brynn hiding the bag. So this is just another one of Brynn's, pranks, because she's the funny girl. Brynn says she's letting this prank ride for at least 45 minutes. Then Aaron and Uba run into each other and they decide to go out and have a talk. They have a back and forth about who's the bigger gaslighter. Uba says she's hurt and Aaron apologizes, basically because she's terrified of Uba and desperate to do anything to keep the peace. Jessel side busts into them and asks if they've seen her suitcase. And when they give her nothing, she makes her way into Brynn's room, who finally coughs up the fact that it's behind the bidet. Then the girls are all sitting at the table, and when Aaron walks away, the girls ask Uba if things are better between her and Aaron, but Uba goes in on Aaron again just minutes after she had agreed with Aaron that they were going to move on. So Aaron comes back to the table and is shocked that Uba is talking shit about her yet again. And then Uba says, I think you're a gaslighter. And Aaron says, who else thinks I'm a gaslighter? And Sai pipes up and says, well, I think you're a gaslighter. I think you gaslight everyone. You do weird things. And then the whole Rebecca being pregnant storyline came up. Aaron can't believe she's hearing this again. She gets up and walks out. Uba follows behind her. Then the two of them go out. They start fighting again. Uba starts talking about fucking pigeons again. If I hear any more, like, that's what's got to stop. Like, all of this it's crazy time over in New York. I don't like it. Uba, to be honest, Uba is so scattered and all over the place and seems disjointed to me that she's like the Kelly Ben-Simone of this cast to me. Like, I can't follow, and I don't even know if she knows what she's saying half the time, because I don't know. It's like there's a disconnect. I don't know. I don't know, but I don't like it. Then the ladies are in the pool and Brynn starts flirting with some golfers. Jessel says, what are you doing? They're like 54 years old. And Jenna says, excuse me, I'm 56 years old. And I would like to say, excuse me, thank you very much, I'm 52. Then Brynn tells the girls about the comment that Rebecca made about her wanting her own room because she has kids and she wants space. And Brynn goes on to say, I can't believe she said that. I can't believe she would say that to me. You know, I'm very insecure about becoming a mom. And then Raquel to camera says, I really don't think that Rebecca was trying to be malicious in any way, because she wasn't. Then the girls get ready and all head to dinner. At the table, the girls ask Jenna how the trunk sale went and how much money she meant to, for her teeth fund, because that's what Jenna said, that she was selling all of her clothes to donate that money to her teeth. And let me tell you, I know dental reconstruction is very expensive, because God knows I've spent way too much money on it. But I'm really surprised that Jen is selling all of her clothes to finance her mouth. Don't get me wrong. It's expensive. It's fucking expensive. And it's not covered by insurance. That's the worst part. Sai tells her that she should have jacked her prices up more. And Brynn says, but you just bought a Bentley. And then Jenna says, oh, no, I didn't. I didn't buy that. They lent it to me. They were very generous. So now at this point, you guys, now everybody's wondering, wait a minute, why did you say you bought that Bentley? I mean, she made it out like she was getting a new car. It was a big deal. It was getting delivered. This was a big day. So if they just lent it to her, then what we watched was just her borrowing a car, not getting a car. I mean, weird. So weird. Then one of the girls asks what the plan is for tomorrow. Raquel says, well, my mom is coming to breakfast tomorrow morning. Aaron asks when the last time she saw her mom was, and she says 6 years ago. Raquel is very excited to see her mother, but equally as anxious, and I do not blame her. Raquel says she's coming tomorrow and bringing her boyfriend. And then Brynn, of course, makes another snarky comment about Rebecca. Well, I wouldn't understand because I don't have kids. And Aaron goes, no, that's not what she was saying. What she meant was that when you have kids, your sleep is constantly interrupted and you don't get good sleep. And Bryn says, oh, come on, it's no different. I have puppies. I have Russian billionaires constantly calling. Sai says, sweetie, you live in a one-bedroom apartment. No Russian billionaires are calling. Then Bryn goes in on Rebecca again, and now it's just feeling like weird bully shit. Bryn tells Rebecca, I'm the teacher and you're the student. I'm the teacher and you're the student. But I'll tell you, to the viewer, it didn't look like that, because truthfully, Bryn's just looking like a spoiled, out-of-line little bitch that's desperate to create drama. Anyway, we'll see what happens with New York. I don't know. They're really on the cusp for me. I don't know. Something's got to give. But over in Beverly Hills, it's a much different story. Beverly Hills is so good, you guys. I am loving it. The show opens up with Kyle and Dorit bickering like sisters about shit that happened 10 years ago. Maybe not 10, but it felt like 10. You didn't support me. You didn't support me. I made a little comment about saving your fashion show, and you didn't talk to me for 6 months. Meanwhile, when it's my project, you say, bookada-beppo, bookada-beep-beep, bookada-boop-ba-ba-ba-boop. Dorit says, Kyle, you freeze me out for 6 months at a time if I make a single misstep. Meanwhile, the two new girls don't know what's going on because these beefs really date back. Then Sutton speaks up as the voice of reason, and this time she actually made sense. She tells Kyle that she does ask people out and she cares more than most about what everyone else thinks. Kyle says, there are things I didn't handle right, and I'm apologizing. Dorit says, thank you. I appreciate that. Kyle says, I acknowledge that I shouldn't have said that on Amazon Live. And Dorit apologized for showing Erica that text that she showed at the reunion. Then Dorit goes on and says, and I want you to know that that thing that happened at BravoCon was a joke. Kyle says, that hurt me. And Dorit says, I'm sorry that hurt you. And Kyle goes, now you're negating my apology. Your apology isn't genuine at all. And then Kyle goes on about how Dorit's apologies always feel fake. And then Garcelle decides that she's going to chime in and says, I agree with Kyle. To which Dorit responds, I'm loving this new Dorit. I am loving how she's just telling it like it is. She really is just Dorit unfiltered, and I am here for it. And that is, like, I personally don't know if we've ever seen a Dorit that was this unfiltered, even when she first came on, because of course then she's really trying to put on a facade. But I think she's been in it. She's come out of this other side with PK. I think she is really at her most raw and real right now. And I think we're all getting the most authentic Dorit that we've ever had. So she says back to Garcelle, let's be honest, I'm not your favorite person. You're very clear about that. And the whole table at this point comes to a grinding halt. Erica puts her face in her hands. Kathy shoves her nose in a candle, trying to distract herself. And then Dorit just stands up, says goodbye to Kathy, and bolts for the door, and Erica walks behind her. Back at the table, Garcelle says, well, where do you go from here? Then the next morning, Dorit goes to see Erica, who imparts some wonderful wisdom. And Dorit herself says that she feels like what happened last night with Kyle was actually a really good first step, because at least now it's all out there, right? The women all gather then downstairs, and they hop into these cute little beach cars, and they drive down to this beautiful boat that they then get on. On the boat, they meet Captain Theo, who they're all horny for, which is a testament to how desperate they all really are. Sutton literally said, I would let him park his boat in my harbor. I would let him park his boat in my harbor. What would the ballet board say? Then the chef, right, starts to get the food going. And before he even has all of the burners turned on, Kathy Hilton makes her way over to him and starts telling this guy how to cook. He's a chef on a ship, and she's telling him how to cook. The ladies gather around the table once the food is finished, and Sutton stirs the pot right back up when she says, Kyle and Dorit, you two talked a lot last night, and I'm just wondering how y'all are doing today. Dorit says, I feel better because it's released. But I'm still really hurt and upset, but I love you, Kyle. I don't hate you. And Kyle says, thank you. I appreciate that a lot. Then Kyle chokes up and says, I know both of us are really going through a lot. And then they both give each other really sincere, heartfelt apologies. And it looks like legit, right? And both of them go on to say that they are happy to move forward with cautious optimism. Then Kyle and Garcelle go and sit down together, and Dorit and Sutton go sit down somewhere else together. Everyone's feeling very open and vulnerable at this point. Garcelle even starts to cry to Kyle and confides that she really doesn't know what this next chapter entails for her as a woman. Kyle says that she can totally relate. And it was a really sweet moment. And I think a lot of women at that point in their life are feeling that way. And then Kyle goes on to tell Garcelle that PK actually reaches out to her. And that information just spun Garcelle's skull. Then Jen asks Bose, who I love. I'm telling you, once again, this week, Bose. I mean, it's all about Bose. Then Jen asks Bose when they're going to get to meet her new man. And Bose just lights up when she's talking about him. She says that he is kind and successful and generous and fine as hell. Bose says she's head over heels for this guy, but she said that dating after her husband died was actually really hard. She says that the guy that she was dating before this guy was a full-blown con artist. Then the boat ride comes to an end, but not before Sutton slips Dorit her phone number so that Dorit can then slip it to Captain Theo. Then Kathy Hilton tells Captain Theo that Sutton hurt her leg and needs to be carried down the stairs. And as he's carrying her down the stairs, I mean, Sutton looks like the cat that ate the canary. And Erica just balls to the wall, asks, "Are you single?" Because she's interested. And then Dorit hands the number over to him. And then like a gentleman, he walks over to Sutton, who's putting her shoes on, and says, "Hey, it was really nice to meet you." And now I can't wait to see where this is going to go because I am invested. Thank you very much. Then the women go back to the hotel to freshen up. They all get dressed to the nines, and now we're out to dinner. Kyle decides to ask Kathy if her and Rick have nude photos of each other. And Kathy says, well, we have a couple, but they're stored in a safe in a bank. So there are pictures of Kathy Hilton, apparently, you guys, in some safe deposit box in a bank somewhere. But we did find out where the pictures were taken. Caesar's Palace, Las Vegas. So apparently not everything that happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. The women are just starting dinner when Garcelle says, "Hey, Dory, you reposted something that Teddy wrote." And at this point, Garcelle is just looking for any opportunity to take Dorit down. It's like she can't help herself. She always wants to make her look like an idiot, make her look like a liar. So what happened was Teddy reposted something and Garcelle is calling her out for the repost. Garcelle is once again trying to come for Dorit and make her look like a liar. So Teddy Mellencamp reposted a picture or a video of the Fox Force 5 up on the stage with her dad. I don't know why she was reposting it, but she did, and she went ahead and tagged Dorit and the rest of the girls. And then Dorit reposted it. Like, I don't understand what was wrong with her doing that. And I don't think there was anything wrong with her doing that. Dorit reposted the video because I'm sure it was a fun memory. But now Garcelle is calling her out because she said that just the night before, she said that her and Teddy weren't friends. But what she really said the night before was that her and Teddy are friends, but they're not that close. And I get it, right? I mean, I have a lot of friends that I'm friends with. We're not that close. We don't hang out on a daily. We don't talk on a daily. But if they tag me in an old memory, if it's a good memory for me, I will repost it. And that's life. But then to quell the tension, Sutton stands up and asks the other women to do the same. She says, "Can y'all please stand up?" So I wrote this down because y'all know I'm not good at speaking impromptu. And she pulls out her phone, you guys, and she's looking, and everyone's waiting. And she says, "So last year in Spain meant a lot to me when we did our ceremonial letting things go." And I'm telling you, everyone is wondering where this is going. And then she says, "And this comes from my heart." And she's reading and she can hardly focus on the words. "Y'all, I really mean this. I thought about it and I want you to think about it too." It goes like this. "Trust and honesty comes to mind as the backbone of real friendship and sisterhood. Friendships are not perfect. There are many ups and downs, twists and turns, but we are all in this together, in sisterhood. Let us join our palms together in solidarity of friendship. True solid friendships always stand the test of time. I really want this to be the year that we bond in friendship." And then she wraps their hands together and Sutton says, So in truth, we are now sisters forever. And it was a very peaceful ending to a very contentious night. But then the next morning, it's time to go home. The ladies all load into a bus, and it is clear that Sutton has had very little sleep. And as soon as they start driving, she says, you know, I really didn't love that you were all kind of mocking my ritual thing last night. The point I was trying to make is we can have disagreements and be truthful with one another. And Dorit says, if you're honest and open. And Sutton says, yes, let's do it. And then Sutton says, last night, Erica was stage whispering about Dorit. And it was all like Mean Girl, not nice. And then she starts going in on Dorit. And Dorit is like blindsided. And she says, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You never know which Sutton you're going to get. This is the Sutton that showed up today, which is a whole lot different than the Sutton that I was with yesterday. And now all that kumbaya shit from the night before has completely disappeared. Sutton and Dorit are going at it like two teenaged hormonal sisters that can't stand each other, and the rest of the family just wants to get away from them. And so they do. All the ladies load out of the bus, and those two sit there still fighting like cats and dogs. And I don't know, but I'm telling you, this season of Beverly Hills, I knew it was going to be good. I'm telling you, I had a feeling about this season, and it is proving absolutely correct. Anyway, you guys, that about does it for this episode of Generally Speaking. I have to get out of here and head to the airport because I have to get up to the Bay. But I have loved spending this time with you. Thank you so much for spending it with me. If you've been watching this on YouTube, please make sure you reach out and smash that subscribe button. If you've been listening on your favorite streaming platform, please make sure you give us a follow, give us a 5-star rating, leave a comment, share us with your family, share us with your friends. We would love that. If you'd like to reach me on socials, you can find me on TikTok at This Is Generally Speaking or on Instagram at The Jennifer Snook. If you'd like to collaborate or have a question you'd like answered on the pod, you can reach me at jennifer@jennifersnook.com. And if you'd like to get your hands on some of this adorable Generally Speaking merch, I will leave that link down below. Okay, everybody, I hope you're having a wonderful week. I hope you get all of your holiday shopping done. And until we are together again, everybody, stay rooted in love. See you next time.